Well, guys, despite the fact that we just had some very unfortunate news on there not being a vote for the Clarity Act prior to the August recess, we actually just did get an extremely positive update. I want to go over that and talk about whether or not I still think the Clarity Act has a chance of passing in 2026, as well as share with you guys some of my favorite clips from the debate I did yesterday. Guys, I think it's almost impossible to be a highly educated person, be a smart, intelligent person, understand the value proposition of crypto, and not understand XRP. Guys, in this video, I want to show you exactly why. Make sure to stick around for this, the whole thing. Like always, you support me so much with this channel. Thank you to everyone who likes and subscribes. And that's it, let's jump right into it, and I hope you guys enjoy the content. I want to start off and talk about the Clarity Act. Obviously, it was unfortunate we didn't get the vote prior to the August recess. What I'm understanding is the big issue is the people who are saying yes feel like they need more time to convince the people who are saying no to vote yes. A lot of people are saying it's all Democrats saying no. Guys, there's actually a couple Republicans who have came out and said that because of the banking lobby, they feel uncomfortable voting yes, which is just like totally it's such an insane thing to say, considering like you don't represent the banks, you represent the freaking people. So it's absolutely wild to hear them publicly saying that out loud. It's just another reminder that you absolutely need to contact your senator and let them know that if they're not voting yes to the Clarity Act, you're not voting for them to remain in office at midterms. Guys, it's so important to highlight that. So what I'm understanding is they want to hold the vote in September, so they have a little more time over the recess to convince more people to actually vote yes rather than no. And guys, while that's normally just something that I'd say, oh, wow, they're just saying that so they can delay this thing further, it actually looks like there's a high chance they're still going to file cloture for the Clarity Act after the break, or file it beforehand for the vote to happen after the break in September. Now, the good news about this is essentially them actually queuing up the vote for September. So it's not like, oh, we're going to get to September and we're going to see what happens. It looks like they're actually looking to make it and formalize the vote prior to them leaving for recess, so it's in place for when they get back in September. I have a feeling this is because they made so many statements of saying, hey, we're going to have a vote prior to leaving, and then they didn't. And now they're like, okay, well, what do we do to make sure we show people we're actually serious about making this happen? So it looks like they are going to file the cloture prior to the August recess happening to solidify the vote taking place in September, which, although isn't the perfect scenario because we just wanted the vote to happen, it's still pretty solid. And I think it blows up one of the biggest bearish cases out there, which everyone has been talking about, which is like, if this doesn't happen before the break, there's absolutely no chance it happens in 2026. This just proves that that ideology has been completely wrong. The fact that they're looking to vote already and actually filing the necessary pieces of paperwork to make that vote happen prior to the August recess to take place after the August recess just shows that this whole idea that there's not going to be any work done on it after the recess is kind of just made up. Like, they are clearly still intending to do work on this thing through the back half of 2026, and I'm still optimistic that this thing is going to pass. And a lot of people will say, how could you be optimistic about it? Guys, the truth is I have just found through time in history, if you want to make money in investing, you have to be optimistic. There has been so many things that have had such a low chance of happening. And the truth is when you have great technologies, they just figure out a way to make things happen. They just figure out a way to work. I remember when the Bitcoin ETFs were first trying to get approved, everyone said there was no chance. They ended up getting approved. I remember when I first thought there was going to be an XRP ETF. Look, everyone thought there was zero chance there was going to be an XRP ETF. And then one got filed and approved. It just pays to be an optimist in this market. And when you have the market going down and prices spiraling to the downside, it's really hard to remain that optimistic. But the truth is that's one of the most important times, because any given day, this Clarity Act is going to end up getting passed. And guess what? I believe that's going to be the moment where all the bears sit there and say, oh, wait, we thought this was never going to happen. This is now happening right in front of us. And the next thing you know, you have a Bitcoin ETF scenario where suddenly the entire market's ripping upward. And the people who are able to see through the FUD, see through the pessimism, see through the blood are the people who make the most money. So guys, it's so important to realize that this is going to happen. This is going to work out. And while we're dealing with politicians' timelines, which are some of the worst timelines to have to deal with, we are going to make it to the other side of that. With that said, I know a lot of people watched my debate yesterday, and I know it was a long debate. I wanted to share with you guys what I thought were the highlights on my channel from that debate. Now, guys, the thing is that I want people to realize, a lot of people ask me like, hey, why didn't you bring up this? Why didn't you talk about this? You did such a good job, but I would have said this. And guys, the truth is when you're doing one of these debates with these people, and especially when you have a time limit, like I don't have 6 hours to explain to them the entire bullish thesis of XRP, right? There are only so many things I can touch on. So some people are like, well, why didn't you mention that the BIS has talked about XRP? Or why didn't you mention that Swift has talked about XRP? Or why haven't you mentioned this? And the truth is you kind of have to hit them on the points that are going to be most destructive to their bearish thesis, right? So if they're going to target a specific area, I need to make sure that I counter attack their points specifically and in a way that it shows the audience that they don't actually really understand the bearish case. If I just go on this tangent and explain all these things outside of the bearish takes they have, the truth is it kind of just makes it so they can say, oh yeah, well, you mentioned those things, but we still don't like this. So just want to explain that to people. I think a lot of people are like, oh, why didn't you say this? It's just because of the way the debate goes on. There's only so many things I can cover. And for the audience to truly understand that their bearish case isn't actually correct, it's really important for me to stick to counterattacking the things they're saying rather than me just going on a random tangent and being like, this is why XRP is so great. The vast majority of people, I think, understand why XRP is so great, but they want to hear the counterpoints to what the bears have to say, right? You guys have heard me talk about how great XRP is so many times, but a lot of people want to know, what is the counter argument to this thing specific? So guys, that's really what I focus on in these like debates, and just wanted to put that out there because I know a lot of people asked the question. With that said, I want to start off and just share with you guys what I thought was a great 2-minute bull XRP thesis. It's so hard to explain the full XRP thesis, and I just thought this was such a good clip of just breaking down what my full views on what the bullish XRP thesis is for me. And I highly encourage everyone, put together your own two-minute bull XRP thesis. Like, if you had 2 minutes to explain the bullish case of XRP, what would it be? Here's mine.
So here, let me jump in here just for a second. So Mike, what I really want to hear, I want to hear the bull case. I think I have a bear case in my mind, but I want to hear something that refutes my hypothesis a little bit. So Mickle, Mike, what do you think? Is it okay if we ask Mickle about what's the bull case for XRP?
If you want, I mean, it's like I said, I'd love the back and forth, but yeah, go ahead.
This goes into my third point anyway that I wanted to touch on. So if you take a look at the build out of the internet, right, which is something that I always come back to when evaluating blockchain technology, because I find a lot of it very similar. If you take a look at what the internet fundamentally did for society, it created an open platform for people to share and transact information nearly instantaneously for very cheaply. And that's a big part of what the internet did for society. I believe blockchain is doing a very similar thing for value. What I fundamentally think is interesting, and where, in my opinion, I was always so attracted to XRP versus a lot of other cryptocurrencies out there, is this view that, I always thought it was from, I don't know if it was my experience in enterprise, if it's just the way I thought about things. I always thought it was hyper unrealistic that all these financial institutions were going to go away and everyone was just going to be going to a coffee store with their wallet and they're going to be scanning and everyone's going to be their own bank. I just know a lot of people, no one's interested in doing that in my personal life. They don't even want to download Robinhood, let alone go to a store with their ledgers. That just always seemed unrealistic. So I've always had this idea that blockchain technology is not a front-end application, it's a back-end application. And if you take a look at where the vast majority of economic activity lies in the financial system, it's not by your average retail participant, it's by large financial institutions. The Ripple strategy fundamentally is, rather than knocking on the door and banging on these financial institutions and saying, you adopt blockchain technology right now, or we're not going to work with you. What Ripple has done is build out a suite of products that allows them into those ecosystems to structurally build into it, whether it's through Ripple's payments, whether it's through custody, whether it's through prime brokerage, whether it's through stablecoin, integrate into the back end. And then ultimately, inevitably, where I believe we're headed is the full adoption of blockchain technology. And Ripple already has systems built into their back end to promote the usage of the XRP ledger as they build out actual crypto initiatives on the onset of things like Clarity.
So
Mike,
who has adopted their technology?
In terms of, so Ripple Treasury is connected to about 12,000 different financial institutions. Ripple Prime is settling about $6 trillion annually. If you take a look at Ripple Payments is integrated. Last time we got a real update on this was the SEC court case. So you'd imagine there's probably been some growth since then. Around 600 banking institutions that use Ripple Payments. And I know the counter argument is going to be like, well, how much of that directly runs on the XRP ledger? That's ultimately where your thesis has to end up. Because my fundamental belief is that because I'm a bull on blockchain technology and I believe that crypto is going to be the most efficient way of moving value into the future, like they're not going to say, oh, now we're going to incorporate Solana into our backend. Like, okay. I think obviously it's going to go to the XRP ledger. So guys, that's the first clip. And, you know, sometimes it's like, it's hard to put the full bull case in for XRP. And, you know, I think at the end of the day, like, that's really it for me. It's the fact that, like, blockchain technology is not something that your average person is really going to be interacting with that much. It's going to be the back end that financial institutions ultimately integrate into to make the entire financial system run seamlessly. And you can't do that without money transmitter license. You can't do that without banking regulation license. You can't do that without a team of executives who have worked at large financial institutions. And no one else in the cryptocurrency industry has that. So Ripple has a structural advantage to make XRP the most adopted digital asset for regulated financial transactions. And that just, to me, seems like the ultimate bull case. Like, I don't understand how you can be bullish on blockchain technology and not see blockchain technology adopted by the people who do the vast majority of economic activity. Like, you just have to have a misunderstanding of how the financial system works, or you have to have a completely backwards understanding of how Ripple runs their product sets. But to me, it's always been a home run strategy, and I think it's going to win out big over the long run. So I'm not really sure how people really miss that. Now, I want to share with you guys kind of another funny one right here. This is specifically about XRP going to zero, which they claim, oh, XRP is a meme coin. It's absolutely asinine, but it's so important to understand, guys. People always use the word speculation as some super negative thing, but speculation is absolutely critical to every single market. If you take a look at what makes up the vast majority of the FX market, it's all speculation. And I'm going to talk about it in this clip, but guys, this is what happens when you kind of talk to people who I would put them more in the category of just these cryptocurrency bros, right? These people who just want to focus on these hyper niche different applications and all these yield generation schemes and all these different value capture metrics. Like, these are all things that are just artificial incentives that ultimately death spiral the token because it's not actually economically sensible to keep printing a token out of thin air and completely destroy the underlying value that that token brings to the world. And, you know, I think this clip just highlights that, like, a lot of people don't understand that what XRP has already done is defy all logic in creating a brand new digital asset that has never existed on Earth with no counterparty risk, with a absolutely pristine store of value tokenomics associated with it. And guys, that to me is something that you should absolutely speculate on, right? Like, that's not a bad thing. You're speculating on the future appreciation of a game-changing technology that has never existed, presenting attributes associated with it that are significantly stronger than what humans have been able to hold wealth in their entire history. Anyway, let's play the clip.
But that's not XRP or coin, though. These two things are completely different. Exactly. That's why I think XRP is a meme coin with no value at all, except for all the people who have been hoodwinked into buying it.
Community.
Except for the $72 billion in market cap value.
Right, and those people are wrong, man. And we've seen stuff go to zero in crypto before, and I wouldn't be surprised to see.
So you think XRP is going to go to zero?
I think it's zero value. Yeah.
What I think is going to happen,
also going to go to zero.
Well, hold on. What I think is going to happen with XRP is at some point, and this is true of a lot, 95% or more of crypto. Yeah. I think a lot of it is overvalued, and I think there's going to be a massive revaluation once there's an accepted way to value these assets. And when that happens, a lot of tokens are going to get a massive revaluation.
I actually love this point because I absolutely do believe there's going to be a revaluation. Like, we are totally on pace with this, except I totally disagree with the direction. I actually believe there's going to be a huge revaluation to the upside on a lot of the major tokens. And we've seen this through history time and time again. When Amazon was like just starting to first push revenue, when Google was first starting to push revenue, these companies are so overvalued, they don't even make profit. people didn't even have the slightest idea about how powerful these new technologies were about to be and what they were going to facilitate in the world. I believe the vast majority of people, especially for most of the conversations I have, like don't even have the slightest idea of how powerful it is to simply be able to move value from one place to another instantaneously, settled without a single intermediary. Like that alone is such a massive piece of value that the financial system can't function today. That's going to completely upend the entire financial infrastructure that makes up the world today. Like that to me is going to cause a revaluation as people start to understand this stuff that is significantly higher than where we are today. In the same exact way Amazon did 1,000x's, 10,000x's, and all these different internet companies did, people just couldn't wrap their head around how powerful these new implementations were. So guys, those are the two clips I wanted to share. Ultimately, I know a lot of people see those debates and think it's so mean-spirited. Guys, they were actually great. It was a lot of fun. Personally, I love to go back and forth with people like this. I think it really delivers a great experience for you, the viewer. The truth is like, I love making videos and I like talking about the bull case, but I'm really tested and I feel like I get to jump into some of the most fun things to talk about when I get to counter punch and talk about some of the downsides of XRP. Because the truth is you can't go into any investment without understanding the downsides. And one of the things that I really like to stress on this channel is like, I hope you guys see that I will take on any debate that's anti-XRP and I will acknowledge any single argument that is made, but I just might have a more bullish take on it. Like a lot of the things that they presented in this interview were just things that I felt like they structurally misunderstood. So being able to display those things, talk about them, and put them out there for you, the viewer, to fully understand. Guys, if you enjoyed those clips, I highly suggest you check out the full interview. I posted it on my channel. It's the last video I posted. And then just understand, guys, they were great. It was a lot of fun. We talked after the interview. They were awesome. And I just love being able to do that with people because the truth is if for people to be able to have a debate like that without getting super mad and heated and without yelling, it's very rare to have that. And I do respect anyone willing to go toe to toe with me, especially in my arena, right? They stepped into my arena. So it was a little bit of an uphill battle for them, I think. So hats off to them for keeping it respectful, keeping it a lot of fun and just doing the interview. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for coming. I hope you guys enjoyed the content. For now, Mickle out.